So now you can see that we have completed so far a lot of steps in our execute automation reporting system. At least we got some exception by hard-coded code just we removed, and then we saw that without binding we could see no data, but then we customized the binding and then we saw the data in here in our last video. But right now what we're going to do is we are just going to do a little deep dive here. As you can see, we have some search functionalities like search by test cycle ID, search by name, and search by date that you specify here, the from date and to date. But as you can see in the name search, we have a drop down where it will automatically list the number of names that is being executed by. So if you want to search with a name, then probably you have to bind this particular drop down with the number of names it's being out there into the particular tables column. So this has to be done, and similarly once you click this show button, you can see it's disappearing, and the reason is because we have to do a little code change, something called as auto post back. If you set the auto post back, then this particular problem will also be gone. So we have to check the is post back is not equal to true. So all those things we have to do, and this is what we're going to do in this video. So what we're going to do is we are going to write some logic to perform a search operation right here. And also the problem that you are seeing here, if I click the show button, it is automatically disappearing those controls. So for the disappearing of the control, the easiest thing that we need to do is we just have to write a small if condition here. If the page dot is post back is not equal to, then do all these things. Very simple. And now if I try to execute this particular code, you can see what I'm really talking about. And now you can see that even if I try to search, that particular control will not disappear. See, I'm going to go to the test cycle ID, and now if I click the show, can you see the particular control still exists here, the name search? And the reason is because this method, the load page method, is actually performing this magic. So if I just go to the definition of this load page, it will always maintain the state of the particular control. So this is what is happening. And then what I actually said, we need to bind the particular drop down as well. So for binding the drop down, I'm just going to copy paste this particular code. And if you see this particular code, it's very simple. What it's doing is there is a query, again the same variable, I'm just reusing it because the scope is done right from here. So that's why I'm just going to make use of the same query. Select distinct of executed by from the TBL test cycle. And here I'm calling the execute query method, the same query method. And then there is a method called populate combo box. So this particular method will actually populate the combo box. So this populate combo box method is not yet written. So let's write that as well. So I'm just going to copy paste this code and let's call this as populate combo box. And you can see that what it's doing is it's going to take the data source as a data table, and then drop down list, which is nothing but the combo box, and there is a column name, which is where the executed by is going to come up. So the data text field is going to be the column name, data value field is going to be the column name, and the data source is nothing but our data table that we just populated, and then we're going to data bind as we did for the grid as well. So the same code, no change. Let's execute this and see that if our drop down is now bound with some of the values at least. As we saw earlier, there was no value bound into the drop down, but right now if I go to the name search, we can see that the drop down is bound with a value which is nothing but Karthik. So if you insert some other value, then you will have a different unique name if it is inserted here. The drop down will automatically populate, right? So the last thing which we're going to do to end this particular video is nothing but the show button. So if I click this show, it will automatically search for the particular value that we are passing in, let's say test case ID or the name search, and then the grid will be displayed. So for that, let's quickly add some of the value for our grid so that you can do a kind of search and see if the search functionality is really working. So for that, let me quickly add some of the value for our test cycle ID table. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a new query, and remember the insert query that we executed in our previous videos. I'm just going to call the same sp exec sp underscore create test cycle ID, and we know what are the information that we need to pass. So it's going to be execute auto employee app or whatever it is, and then it is going to be executed by, so let's say we give a different name this time, at least maybe John, and then requested by I'm going to give as Sam again, and build number will give 3.8, and the application version is going to be 3.0, and the machine name is going to be Windows 8 just for differentiation, and then the test type is going to be 1. So let's execute this. All right, and let's execute again 4 times, and John we're going to change to maybe Truman. All right, so now we have ample amount of data in here. Let's try to refresh this, and you can see there are so many data available for our grid this time. Let's go to the name search. Now you can see that there are 3 data: John, Karthik, and Truman. So these are the distinct data for the particular column executed by, and it is automatically picking those data for us. Cool, right? And then the test case ID. Now let's say if I want to search for the test cycle ID 105, this, and let's say if I hit show, nothing will happen here. The reason is because we have not even written a single line of code to perform the search operation by clicking this show button. So we're going to add that code in our next video.